Food service can be a hard job, but it can get easier as long as you know what you're doing. Just like some of the vets that's been out there about good 10, 15 years with the same job. It really depends a lot on, well, it depends on the type of person you are, if you can handle that type of career. And it also depends on if you are able to adapt as well as those certain drivers have adapted to their job. So with that being said, here are a few tips that I could give you that you definitely want to keep in mind when you're looking for a company and or you already started your career. So first one's pretty obvious, I think, but it's to go ahead and research a little bit about the actual companies that you are trying to apply for. Now, some of you might just be looking at one company, so you do your research there. But if you got options, then it's a much bigger deal for you to go ahead and figure out, hey, which one of these really is a better fit for me. Just a few things you want to look out for other than pay and benefits might be do they work at night or do they work at the daytime? Another thing, here you go, is how far out do they go? Do they stay local or do they go out an hour and a half away and then they start their work days? Another thing that you could be looking out for if it matters to you is if they come off a ramp or do they actually use lift gates? And the last thing I got to say is if a place is doing sign-on bonuses, then a lot of times that's because they have a high turnover rate. So they got to have some type of incentive to bring drivers in the door. And they usually do the sign-on bonuses where it be 3 months you get paid maybe a quarter, and then 6 months you get paid another quarter, and then you get paid the rest after a year. So definitely figure out what these companies are and if that's a good choice for you. After figuring out where you want to go, you got the job, so on and so forth, you're going to be in training and you're going to get paid less than you would usually get at most of these jobs. You would get paid a training pay versus getting paid, what you would actually make by yourself. So you would think, I want to go ahead and finish training as fast as possible so I can start making the money that I came here for. But that might not be a great idea. You might want to actually stay in training as long as possible. You want to learn the routes that you are going to be on. And if you were somebody that's training you, then you might not even be on those routes. But another quick tip is to make sure you get on the routes that you're going to be on. You train for those routes, not just some random routes somewhere else that you're never going to be at. Go ahead and learn the route that you're going to be on so you can learn what time you need to be at these places. You can go ahead and learn what's the best place to park at so you can be as close as possible to the doors. So especially when you're using can you bring a pallet in there if you got a lift gate? Can you bring a pallet through the door or other things like that? So your trainer should be telling you all this, and they can also tell you just other miscellaneous things like which places it give you something to eat, which places it won't, and sometimes none of the places give you something to eat, and some of these routes. So it just is what it is. That's just a tidbit. Don't go begging people for food in there. While you might get a free drink, you also might get somebody that calls the office saying, "Yo, your driver's begging for free drinks." What's going on with that? Most places offer you a drink if they actually do that. Going back to what I was talking about, staying in training as long as possible. There are certain situations where a company might be short on staff, which a lot of them are, and they'll turn around and be like, "Hey, we need you to go take this route real quick," or "Hey, is it possible that you can go ahead and do this route?" And you're like, no pressure, but at the same time, you really help us out if you go ahead and do this route. If you don't feel comfortable doing the route on your own yet, then just don't do the route, or at the very least, most of them will make sure you get paid, regular pay versus being stuck in training pay if you decide to do that route on your own. But actually double check that. So like I said, man, training is very necessary, and you don't want to just skip past it just so you can get some extra money, man. Because at the end of the day, if you get burnt out or you get lost, you don't know what you're doing, that day is going to be a lot worse than you just staying and training for a little while longer. Another thing I want to say is when you're loading, it's always more beneficial to have two dollies versus having one dolly, or having, a hand truck, have two hand trucks over one, because you can go ahead and load more at the same time, and then you got one done, go down into the store, deliver that, and then bring the other one down right afterwards. It's just more efficient. And when you get these dollies, you want to try to make sure you can use your space on these efficiently. Like, you want to put as much as you possibly can on these two dollies, not too wide to where you can't get the dolly in the door, but you do want to stack, like, you'll see some people just stack up like maybe 4 boxes by themselves, when reality is they could probably get like 6 or 8 boxes on that dolly. And you want to be able to get 6 to 8 boxes on that dolly, because the more boxes you get on every run, the less runs you'll have, and that overall will help you with your day, getting your day done easier. Another thing that you want to go ahead and do is make sure that you get enough sleep for your work day. A lot of these places, you're going to be working 12 to 14 hours a day, and you do not want to be in these trucks running after a 12, 13, 14 hour day. It's the end of the day. You might you might end up having an extra 20 to 30 minutes to get home from the job. You're going to be tired. A lot of us, or a lot of truck drivers, end up ending their work day like around 3, 4 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're done with their route, but they need to get back to the warehouse. So driving back to the warehouse, you're just completely exhausted trying to stay awake while you're driving, and that just sucks. So definitely get as much sleep as you can. If you need to, get some coffee or something that can help keep you up, put on some music, anything like that. Matter of fact, if you're somebody that has a problem staying awake, I already have a video with other tips on how you can stay awake when you're exhausted. You can check out the card that should be popping up on one of these sides. Also, as a food service driver, you're going to want to be moving quickly, because most of these routes, they got certain, I don't want to say they got time limit, but they got a schedule on them that basically says the estimated time that you're supposed to be at said stops and the estimated time that you're supposed to leave. And yeah, they obviously want you to stay on that as close as possible, and that's what you want to do, because most places are going to try to give you like 10 to 15 stops, maybe more, depending on how big of a load that you got. So at the end of the day, you're going to have to run, and you just ain't going to be able to just be slacking off here and there. A lot of times you might not even be able to really get a break, like a full break. I'm going off duty type of break. You're just going to be running. That ain't fun. But you will break a sweat, and I mean, you should lose some weight if you feel like you're overweight at the very most. Try to get to work as early as possible. You got paperwork that you got to do before you head out. Doing that paperwork right then and there is going to help you out. And also, even if you're not doing paperwork in the morning, but let's just say you get there late, there are going to be stores that you're going to be pushing time on, where they are supposed to be, it's supposed to be open by the time you get there. But if you're running late, they'll be closed by the time you get there. And then you'll have to spend more time opening up that store. Then there might be a store here and there where the person will help you actually put the stuff away, or they might tell you just leave everything in a particular spot. They'll put everything away. But now, because you're late, you have to put everything away yourself. And the last thing I gotta say is, let me go ahead and take a look at this. double check your deliveries, because the last thing you want to do is take everything into a store and then you turn around and then you forget that you had a pack of XYZ, you had a pack of meat, or you had a pack of water that you forgot to take into that store, and they really need that pack of water for that store. So now you got to turn around and open up the store, or even if even if the store is open, you got to turn around so they can get their water. And that, just little things that waste your time just really, really sucks, especially when you don't have that much time to lose to begin with. So with all that being said, man, that's all the tips I got for you today. Hopefully this stuff helped you out. If it did, leave a like, go ahead, comment any type of tips that you can give new people. Go ahead and comment that below. I don't always do stuff about food service, but if y'all got any videos that y'all want me to do about food service, anything you want me to talk about, make sure to leave that in the comment section below as well. I'll be having more videos coming out. In the meantime, you can watch this little video with some tips right here. So why don't you go ahead and do that.